We're going to talk about our power rankings. It's going to be very simple, like the first two editions that we did. I'm just going to go over the top 10 teams as I currently see it in the NFL based off the week 3 performances. So I'm going to start at number 10. This might come as a surprise just because of where I had them ranked last week. I had the Chiefs at number 10. So last week I had them at number 4, and they take a huge dive in my power rankings simply because this team has lost two straight games that they should have won. And when I look at the issues that are facing this team currently, it's primarily turnovers and the defense. The defense has given up 95 points in the first 3 weeks of the season. That is atrocious. And despite how good this offense can be, it is going to be very difficult for this team to win games if the defense is giving up 30 points in the process every game. And not only has the defense played bad, I have to be honest here. Patrick Mahomes has looked shaky the last couple weeks. He's been a turnover machine the last two games, and he's throwing interceptions consistently. And this is despite the fact that before this season, Patrick Mahomes had never thrown an interception in the month of September. And he has been turning the ball over much more consistently than I ever expected him to. And not only is he turning the ball over, but they're having fumble issues. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had another fumble in week 3, and this was after he had a week 2 fumble against the Ravens where they were marching down the field and they could have won the game. So I think the Chiefs will be able to bounce back. They are playing the Eagles, and I think that is definitely a game that they should be able to turn it around in. But this is a precipitous drop from where they were in my week 2 power rankings, and I think it's deserved. But I do think that this team is one of the better teams in the AFC and the NFL as well. They just got to find a way to get these turnover issues corrected. And if the defense can slow down opposing offenses, I think they'll be fine. But I have them at number 10. So at number 9, I have the Cleveland Browns. This is the first time that I've had them in my power rankings, and it's well deserved. They played a phenomenal game against the Chicago Bears this past week. I got to say, this was a huge game from Cleveland's defense. They were sensational against the Bears. They had 9 total sacks, 4.5 from Myles Garrett alone. You know, when you can get that type of pressure against any sort of team where you're getting 9 sacks as a defense, there's a very good chance that you're probably going to win that game. And it's exactly what took place. They won that game against the Bears pretty convincingly. As far as the offense goes, Baker's looking solid so far. Odell is back in the lineup. You got great production from Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And if that type of consistency remains for Cleveland, it's going to bode well for them for the next couple weeks. As it currently stands right now, they're currently tied with the Ravens and the Bengals at the top of the AFC North. I really do think it's going to come down between the Browns and the Ravens, just as it currently looks, because the Steelers don't look that great right now. But if the Browns get this type of production from both sides of the ball, they're going to be a very tough out in the AFC North, and that's why they have them at number 9. So at number 8, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Tough loss against the Packers this past Sunday night. It looked like the 49ers had done enough to win that game on Sunday night against the Packers, but they had a defensive letdown with 35 seconds against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was able to march the Packers down, was it like 50, 55 yards in 35 seconds? And the Packers end up getting like a 50-yard game-winning field goal that got them that win. But the 49ers, I thought they looked competitive against the Packers. They had a good comeback against them late in the second half, and they almost stole that game. But like I said, it was a tough loss. This is still a very competitive team. This looks like a much improved team from last year. That was despite the fact that they had a lot of injuries last year that they just couldn't shake. But I will say this, for the San Francisco 49ers, the road is going to be difficult for them. They got to play the Seahawks next, and then they got to play the Cardinals after that in week 5. So you got 2 divisional matchups in back-to-back weeks. And, the Seahawks are a little bit battered right now. They've lost 2 straight. So maybe the 49ers can steal one there, but that Cardinals matchup in week 5, that's going to be a tough game for them. But this is a good team. In all aspects, I think the offense is fine. They're still getting good production from Jimmy G. Deebo Samuel. George Kittle had a solid game. And defensively, you went up against Aaron Rodgers. You gave up 30 points, but it happens. So I have them at number 8, and I think that's a pretty good spot based on the game that they had against the Packers. So at number 7, I have the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens, they stay in the same spot as they were last week. I'll be honest with you. They escaped Detroit with a win because the Lions are a subpar team, and it took a miracle kick from Justin Tucker to get them this win. I will say this, Lamar Jackson had a really good setup play for the Ravens to put them in position to get this game-winning field goal. I mean, they were deep in their own territory. Lamar just flings it 35, 40 yards down the field, ends up in a catch. They were able to get into a little bit closer field goal range for Justin Tucker to knock down that game-winning NFL record 66-yard field goal. And that's really kind of the main takeaway is just, man, it's Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker really put his team on his back to get them that win and did it in record fashion. And that's really the main takeaway from the Ravens in week 3. And the way that I see it is this team is going to go as far as Lamar takes them. The running back field is just, I mean, it's a literal infirmary at this point with how many injuries they've had. So this offense is going to be the one to really kind of carry this team forward. The defense has been playing better. I mean, giving up 17 points against the Lions is an improvement, but this defense is going to struggle for the foreseeable future. And they've got a difficult matchup in week 4. They got to play the Broncos, who are 3-0 at the top of the AFC West, and then they play the Colts right after that. So the Ravens are definitely going to have their work cut out for them, but they are number 7 in my power rankings. So at number 6, I have the Buffalo Bills. I thought the Bills looked sensational against Washington in week 3. Josh Allen looked like what he looked like last year against Washington. They look like they're rounding into form going into October. They kind of had a slow start. They lost that game to the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1. They did win 35-0 in week 2, but Josh Allen did kind of struggle in that game. It was mostly a defensive performance in week 2 that led to that type of beatdown. But this was really a breakout game for the Bills offense. You had Emmanuel Sanders chip in. Cole Beasley was on point. You had Stephon Diggs. He was sensational as well. So the offense seems to be rounding into form. Defensively, this is one of the better defenses in the league. And look, they're going to be at the top of the AFC East. Not a lot of the AFC East teams are doing much right now. The Dolphins are taking a backseat right now because Tua's out for the foreseeable future. The Patriots are looking inconsistent after taking a pretty solid loss to the Saints in week 3, and the Jets are 0-3. So this is the Bills' divisions to lose. So they're number 6 in my power rankings, and this is definitely a team to watch out for in the AFC for sure. So number 5, I have the Green Bay Packers. The Packers definitely take a jump after getting a big road win against the San Francisco 49ers. This was the performance I was really kind of expecting from Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers comes through in the clutch once again. I mean, I will say this, being down 28-27 with 35 seconds to go is not a optimal situation, but it did not matter. Aaron Rodgers was able to move them down the field in relatively easy fashion with no timeouts to work with. And he sets up Mason Crosby with a 50-plus yard game-winning field goal, and Crosby knocks it through with the win. They move to 2-1. And with the Packers are still one of the best teams in the NFC. I know everybody got a little bit scared about the Packers after they got just beat down by the Saints in week 1, but they've really turned it around. They had a great performance in week 2 against the Lions. They followed it up with a clutch performance from Aaron Rodgers and Mason Crosby in week 3. Just the main issue with this team moving forward is going to be the defense. They have been giving up points. They gave up the 30 plus against the Saints. They almost gave up 30 against the 49ers here, but this is still a very good team to contend with, and that's why I have them at number 5. So number 4, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland. The Raiders just continue to win. This is probably one of the biggest surprises that I've seen in the early parts of this season in the NFL. I did not expect this team to be 3-0, but that's where they currently stand. And when I look at this team, um, Derek Carr is just having a phenomenal year. Like, I don't know how else to say it. He is just lighting it up for this team. He's putting the ball in the places where it needs to be. And this team is putting up points. Granted, they did have a tough win against the Dolphins. The Dolphins kind of gave them a run for their money in this week 3 matchup, but the Raiders were able to get a solid effort at the end when it mattered the most. They were able to win this one in overtime. When it comes to the Raiders are going to be in a dogfight in the AFC West for the foreseeable future. You got the Broncos, who are currently sitting at 3-0, and I don't think anybody expected that. You got the Chargers, who are sitting at 2-1, and then you got the Chiefs, who are sitting at 1-2. So the main focus for the Raiders right now is to keep the offensive tempo going. Derek Carr is having a phenomenal start. The defense is still getting some turnovers, which is a huge factor moving forward. They're going to still have to commit to getting turnovers so they get the ball back to Derek Carr in the offense. But, I mean, they're the top of the AFC West, and I don't think anybody was expecting that. I sure as hell didn't expect that. And really, it's in their control at this point. So I had them at number 4, and they have been playing with like one of the best teams in the AFC so far. So that's why I have them at number 4. So at number 3, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs took a tough loss on the road. It's their first loss of the season against the Rams. Losing to the Rams is, nothing to be ashamed of. The Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL. And when I look back at this game, the defense was atrocious. They let Matt Stafford essentially stomp them. Matt Stafford had a huge game against that defense, threw for 4 touchdowns, had over 350 yards passing. And when I look at the Bucs, the main issue with this team moving forward is going to be the defense. And I think teams know how good this front 7 is, and that is why they are making it a point of emphasis to attack this team's secondary. And despite the fact that the Bucs are 2-1, they are giving up a lot of points in the process. They almost gave up 30 points against Dallas in week 1. They gave up 25 against the Atlanta Falcons in week 2. And now they give up 34 points against the Rams in week 3. So if the team is going to move forward here, the defense is going to have to get it together, because Brady in the offense is not really something that I'm really worried about here. Brady threw for 430 yards in week 3. And the only thing about the offense that just didn't happen was they just weren't able to convert third down conversions, and they weren't able to get points on the board. That was the difference in that game with the Rams, is that the Rams were able to convert on third down. They were able to get the ball into the end zone, and the Bucs weren't able to convert on third down, and they kind of put themselves in situations where they had to settle for field goals instead of getting touchdowns. But the offense is not really an issue here. It's primarily the defense. They do take the number 3 spot in the power rankings. For number 2, I have the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals got a very solid win on the road against Jacksonville. Kind of started out a little bit shaky at first, but they were able to round into form nicely into the second half of that Jaguars game. Kyler Murray has been on just an absolute tear to start the season. He's been off to a very good start. That connection with DeAndre Hopkins and him has just been money to start the year. Currently they are sitting at 3-0. They are in a tie with the Los Angeles Rams at the top of the NFC West. And it is going to be a battle. I do kind of see the Cardinals really trying to make a point of emphasis that they are the best team in the NFC West. They're going to have to contend with the Rams. The Rams are going to definitely have something to say about that. But this Cardinals team is no joke. They are here. I didn't give them much of a chance at first just because of how competitive this division is. But they are playing up to par, and they are giving the Rams a run for their money as far as the best team, not only in the NFC and not only in the NFC West, but in the entire NFL. So watch out for the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a team that have great aspirations as far as I'm concerned, and that's why I have them at number 2. And then at number 1, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, the Rams put a show against the Super Bowl champion Tampa Tampa Bay Buccaneers this past weekend. Matt Stafford looks sensational. I mean, not only does he look sensational, you got Cooper Kupp looking like one of the best receivers in the league. That connection that Stafford and Cooper Kupp already have seems to be in midseason form, and I expect that tandem to really kind of grow throughout the season as well. Defensively, they were able to force Tampa into some situations where they had to convert some third downs and they were unable to. So you have to give a lot of credit for the Rams defense for being able to get the Buccaneers defense, the Buccaneers offense off the field. And the sky's the limit with the Rams this year. I do believe that they are in the driver's seat of their own destiny. And as long as the offense is humming and the defense is opportunistic, this team legitimately has Super Bowl contention, in my opinion. So the Rams are number one. They overtake the Buccaneers from the number one spot from last week, and that will round out this week's power rankings from week 3. So good list here. Got some really good teams here, and it'll be interesting to see where these teams move up and down after week 4 is all said and done.